We are so excited to have one of our Simply Nourished members here, Benita, who has gone through an amazing transformation and here to share her story with you. So welcome, Benita.
Thank you.
Can you explain a little about what you tried in the past over the years with different diets?
Yeah, I feel like most of my adult life has been focused on trying to lose weight. And I think maybe that wasn't the best thing because it was always about losing weight. Um, and one thing that's changed now, it's really more about being healthy, which is very tied to losing weight for me. But there's lots of different versions of diet and exercise programs. Not too many formal programs. Many years ago, I tried something called LA Weight Loss, where you logged all your meals into a little book and you checked in with someone once a week and weighed and stuff. And it worked. But once I stopped it, all the weight came back. And then I've tried, multiple times just on my own trying to eat well. The science behind eating well over the years I learned, I just never was able to stick to it. I knew I could lose weight and I had done it multiple times, but then whenever I stopped, something would happen, usually some type of life event or a change in routine or structure. I got married or had a baby or something. I moved and I'd go back to all my old habits because nothing really changed long term. It was more about just when you don't eat as much, you do lose weight. So then the weight would not only come back, but then there'd be more because there'd also be that sort of disappointed feeling of failure. So even
Mhm.
the last time I had lost weight was in 2020, again, on my own, just sort of logging my food, trying to reduce my food intake, exercise often, but not always a part of it. And I did. And then after the pandemic hit and lots of other family kind of things happened, I kind of fell off that wagon and gained all that back, plus an additional 20, 30 pounds. And that's where I was sitting when I got the message from you saying, hey, we're starting up this program. Do you want to try it?
Well, timing is everything, right?
I think that's great.
And we do find that so many women, they know what to eat. It's just a matter of, okay, why can't I do this or how do I do this?
Right.
So if you're thinking about like talking about the program or what you went through, the transformation, like what made the process different for you?
In the beginning, it was a little bit of the structure and certainly the support, right? This program has a lot of educational information, videos you can watch at your own pace. But before even the videos and the educational part, one of the early exercises that you have in the program about why this is important to you, why you want to make a change now, was probably the most impactful thing for me. It's a very simple exercise, but it really makes you dig into the why. And most people say, I should lose weight. And a trigger word for me that I learned was if I say I should do something, then I got to question it. Like you don't want to should, you want to do something. So why do I want to do it? Um, and as I dug into that, I really realized why. And once you make that change within yourself or that realization, then you can approach all the materials and the conversations and the groups slightly differently because you understand that this is an investment that you want to make in yourself. Um, so once I did that, and then I watched all the videos, I learned a lot. I did the pillars. The initial assessment helped me figure out that I need to first figure out my environment and set that up. It makes you think a lot about your life and kind of how you do things instead of just diving into changing what you eat. Because that I've done before and I know it works, but it doesn't last. Really figuring out why you do the things you do was probably the key game changer for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And do you feel like that's possibly why other approaches weren't successful, or are there other reasons as well why what you've tried in the past didn't quite click or have a lasting change for you?
Yeah, I think because I didn't necessarily do the work to figure out why up front. But I do think also the nature of the program not being so strict, not being strict at all, really, and not being a diet. And once you can understand that this isn't a diet that you have to embrace, because the word diet usually has an end to it. Like I'm off my diet. This is not something you're ever off. You kind of changing the way you think about food and eat for the rest of your life. So that, oh, if you went off one day and ate something that was less healthy, potentially, it doesn't change anything. You're still you've still made the change. It's just that one day maybe, or that one meal wasn't great, and the next one is another opportunity to eat healthy. So that, I think, is the most fundamental change from every other program I've ever been on, because that's always been about how much I want to lose and what I'm not going to eat. So it's more of the mind shift change, which again, you guys with the program and the support really instill that, but the individual also has to be in the right place to want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it all came together.
Yeah, we like to talk to people before they join the program to make sure that they're ready.
Right. And the coaching aspect of your program, like the Friday office hours and even the group sessions, talking about the challenges people have and always reinforcing that it's okay. It wasn't a failure. What are you going to do next? Why did you do that? Like those types of questions really help the thinking. And then the cleanse was probably a huge jumpstart for me, although I didn't do it at the beginning. And I think that actually worked for me that I didn't do it week one, because it took some time to really kind of do the environmental changes and really see that, okay, this is something I want to do, more of the emotional stuff and the mental stuff. And then I wasn't going to do the cleanse. And Stephanie said, you don't have to do it. Not everyone does it. But then little by little, you're like, okay, here's an easy way to do it. Here's shortcuts to do it. And you made it so approachable. I said, why not do it? And then I did it with full gusto. And I maintained so many of those habits for months after the week was over. And then that can be specific. It's the drinking water, cutting out processed foods, cutting out refined carbs, and cutting out added sugar. And I shouldn't say cutting out. During the cleanse, it was cut out, but after that, it was just greatly reduced. And now I'm just aware of it. And then once you can do something for a long time, those are probably some of the biggest changes I think that had an impact. And then once you start feeling healthier and the weight starts coming off, then it's easier to add other things on that are really healthy for you.
And I love how you were a little resistant at first, but now you're like encouraging the other members, like, oh, you can do this. I can help you.
Yeah, because it is scary. And I mean, that's one thing. Like if you just read all the stuff and you see all the different recipes and it's like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But then your support, frankly, is what made it doable. And also I realized afterwards, it's not an all or nothing. If you don't do it perfectly, or you don't do it all 7 days, you didn't fail it. You still accomplished so much.
Right.
So I've done it several times since, just as a reset kind of. Yeah. The continued support, I think, has been key though, because if I felt like I was slipping or getting stagnant or something, you guys were always there, and the rest of the groups as well. Right. Just to check in with and just sort of reassuring, but also keeping it kind of top of mind how to just be healthy. And even though it's not about losing weight, for me, I did lose a lot of weight. I was very happy about it. And weight is the motivator. I do weigh myself frequently, and I use that sort of as a checkpoint. Not to beat myself up if it doesn't go down or if it goes up a little bit. That's just life. And because it's not a short-term thing. If this was a short-term game, I think that would be much more, it could be more of a demotivator, but this is a long-term thing, right? This is for the rest of my life.
And are you willing to share how much you've lost?
Oh, I'd be happy to share. I started this program about a year ago and I've lost 100 pounds.
Incredible. We're like so proud of you because you really dug in and you did the work, and you checked in with us, as you said, like when you felt like you're going off track. That's the biggest thing. I think sometimes people start to go off track and they're like, oh, I don't want to talk to them, but you really reached out for the support.
Right.
So,
because
congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I think once you make an investment in yourself, and honestly, once you see it working and you realize like, I don't want to do the yo-yo. I don't want to go down and go back up. And it's been a year and I just packed up all my clothes that were 3 or 4 sizes bigger. I haven't actually given them away yet, but they're all in bags ready to go because I'm never going back there.
One thing we wanted you to talk a little bit about was the sustainability of, and like how confident you feel that the changes you've made now are changes you're going to keep forever, even though there's always like a little wiggle room here and there, right? Because you've been through a lot in the last few months with different life, events that have been very stressful. And So it's easy to, change your eating habits when things are sailing along and there's no other life stressors happening, but you've managed to maintain and continue your progress through all of that. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, because that's when I said what has worked and not worked in the past. It's usually because some big or small life event or emotional event would just kind of throw me off. So this was working. In the beginning, it was a little bit more under really good circumstances. Like I had the time and the space to do everything right. And then I had found out I have to have shoulder surgery. And I started like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to cook for myself. I can't chop vegetables. I can't make my shakes. I'm not going to be able to exercise. But I was able to do everything. I mean, I had help. I planned ahead, I think, which is key as well. Like, how am I going to handle the things that I couldn't do? And it was for a short period. But I think that was the biggest thing. And then that got better. And then my mom got sick. I was going to the hospital to see her a lot. So I wasn't at home. I wasn't cooking. I was eating out more just because I had to. But the changes stuck. I was making very healthy choices while I was out. I was planning ahead, cooking. All of the things that I learned early on really came through when, in all the times that normally I would have been like, okay, this is the end and I'm going back to my old habits, because I think the habits had really changed. And they weren't just habits, it was just a complete change in how I thought about food and nourishment. And to be honest, when my mom passed away, I did struggle a bit. I got off a little bit, maybe gained a little bit of weight, but it didn't scare me. I knew it was like just something I was going through because I wasn't focusing as much on drinking water and the things, and I got right back to it. It was a little trip. So not that I ever wanted any of those things to happen, but they did reassure me that the changes that I have made are more long-term. Now it's been a year. I've never lost and maintained weight for this long. And I'm not trying to maintain, to be honest. I'm still trying to lose more weight because I started with a lot to lose. But I have full confidence. I'm not in a huge rush. I just feel like this is a part of my everyday now. And in the beginning, I thought about it a lot. And now I don't think about it as much. It's a little bit more natural. I don't write down what I eat. I don't count my calories. I do count how much protein I have because I think that is an important part that I learned early on. If I don't get enough protein, then I'm hungry to snack the rest of the day. If I do, then I feel fine. And I do try and track how much water I drink because that's one that's easy for me to stop.
So another question we had, which I think is helpful for people to hear, is with the weight loss that you've had, how has your life changed in terms of how you feel?
That's a good question. I generally feel really good about doing things now that I never would have done before. I mean, I saw like I run a marathon or anything, but I've gotten back to yoga, which I used to love, but then it was very hard to move certain ways. And now I can get back to bending over and being more flexible. And I feel like I can build my strength. I've gotten back into doing some exercise. And I have lots of goals of things that I want to do. Like, for example, we're going on vacation and we picked St. Lucia. That was my daughter's choice. It's much more adventurous island than sitting on the beach with cocktails. And normally I would shy away from everything, but I'm planning on doing some of the more adventurous hikes that they have, only because I can now, right? And I mean, I don't actually know if I can, but I feel like I can. I feel like it's given me the freedom to do things without as many limits as I always put on myself. And there are even more basic things. Like I love to travel, but I hated flying because I wasn't able to fit a seatbelt around me fully without an extender. And that was kind of embarrassing. And I didn't really want to do that, or who I was sitting next to on the plane. I've been traveling and with no problem at all. So I think it's given me a lot of freedom and a lot of confidence. Like I said before, I still feel like I have more to go, but I feel like it's possible and I don't need to wait to start living my life until that happens because I just feel good now.
So would you have any words of wisdom for somebody who's maybe considering this program, or even just give them hope that a lot of times people think, oh, I'm this age and I've been trying my whole life. Like, what's the point now? I think your story is so inspiring. So just from hearing this, I'm sure people will be inspired. But if you have any other words of wisdom, or
I think if you are really ready to make an investment in your health, this is an excellent way to do it. It's not very time consuming. It's not super structured, yet it has enough structure to keep you going. There's a wonderful level of support, and you really don't have anything to lose except weight if that's what you want to lose. Right. I would definitely give it a try. It's a short-term investment, even though I said I've done this for a year now because I like the maintenance, I like the support. So I stay connected with Jane and Stephanie and the groups, which is an option if you want, or it could just be enough to kind of get you going and then you can stop. There's a lot of flexibility. And I don't think it's ever too late to focus on your health. Right. There's no such thing as being too old or having tried so many times. I mean, I thank you guys. I thank my lucky stars for the day you sent me the message saying the program starting. How I found you to begin with was a little bit serendipitous, and I think these things all worked and this was the right time for me. And I plan to stay connected.
Thank you. And
Sure.
you inspire us. I mean, we've loved having you in this program, and we love sharing your story and just being around you, and just we learn from you too, because when we do the group calls, you're always offering your words of wisdom, and I feel, wow, that's really profound. That's really helpful. So thank you as well.
Yeah, for
Very
sure.
Thank you guys.